I have a friend who is kind of a tough guy, no-nonsense kind of guy. But recently, he got a new dog. He got a Dachshund. And ever since he has gotten that Dachshund, he has been sending me pictures of his dog. Of course, they're all very cute pictures, and I love seeing them. The last one that he sent me was one of his dog with a baseball cap on. And in the caption, he said to me, "The sun was so bright today, I had to buy him a cap to protect his eyes." And then he says, "A year ago, had you told me that I would buy a cap for a dog, I would have laughed in your face." I enjoy getting those pictures because, as I've mentioned before, I love dogs. And I'm frequently tempted with the idea of getting one. And ever since he's gotten that Dachshund, my social media feeds are filled with nothing but pictures of Dachshunds. I love watching those videos and clips and seeing those pictures of other people's Dachshunds. But as I kind of contemplate the idea of a dog, I quickly realize that they're not just cute, because I also see all the pictures and the videos of them destroying things and barking and misbehaving and doing all kinds of things that I know would radically change my life. Not to mention having to be sure I come home at a certain time to let the dog out, worrying about what to do with the dog during vacations, and of course, the very expensive vet bills. So for that reason, I'm happy enough just staying on the sidelines with pictures on my social media. Because it really comes down to being fully engaged when it comes to owning a dog or any pet for that matter. And that's true of anything of worth or value in life, including our faith. We heard in today's reading from St. James, "Be doers of the word and not hearers only, deluding yourselves." Be doers of the word and not hearers only. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God and the Father is this: to care for orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained by the world. St. James is alluding to that reality, that requirement of faith. Be fully engaged, not just in word, but in actions. In today's gospel from St. Mark, Jesus quotes the prophet Isaiah as he's being challenged by the Pharisees and the scribes. And he quotes the prophet Isaiah when he says, "This people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines human precepts." Again, Jesus is talking about the need for that total engagement in our faith. In other words, what St. James and Jesus are trying to tell us, be doers of the word and not hearers, speakers, and worshipers only. I think those words, my friends, are really important for us to contemplate, especially in our contemporary society, where religion and faith is often spoken of in today's political arena. And when that happens, honestly, I get nervous That's not to say that I don't think that should happen. It should. I think it's important that faith have a seat at the table, at the conversation, about how wonderful it would be, my friends, if our faith were to actually influence public policy. Unfortunately, oftentimes it's not. And I think it's because so many of us do it with disengaged hearts. That word engage is kind of an interesting word if you look it up. It can mean, of course, being fully engrossed in an activity, such as she's engaged in her crossword puzzle. But we also use the word engage when someone is betrothed to another for marriage. So we often say they are engaged to be married. And it's kind of nice that that word is used in marriage or marriage for engagement. It's the same that we use in terms of an activity where we're fully engrossed. And truly, when you meet some people who are a couple that is engaged to be married, it's a wonderful thing to see, isn't it? How their whole lives have now become that other person. They're fully immersed in the life of the other, as should be. Interestingly enough, though, we only talk about engaged in that moment or that process from when someone meets someone to the moment that they get married, and then we just call it marriage afterwards. Maybe we should say someone is engaged to be married and then they are engaged in marriage, meaning that they continue to be fully engrossed, fully committed, fully immersed in the life of the other. Because that's what marriage is about, isn't it? My friends, in faith, an engaged heart is one that is fully committed to the gospel, to what Jesus asks of us as his disciples. An engaged heart would speak for the welfare and well-being of the poor, the homeless, immigrants, addicts, battered women, with the same fervor, if not more, than they speak about religious freedom, or the need for Bibles in the classrooms, or how our country was created with religious principles, or how we celebrate Mass here, whether we're doing it correctly or not. Faith requires more than religious practices and more than just having Bibles in the classroom. It requires that we actually open it up and read it and let it challenge us and move us and change us so that our lives are conformed to Christ's. The same life of Christ that we see time and time in the gospel, advocating for the poor. The same Christ who speaks of his Father as the God who is love, and is actually the God who brings love to the poor, to the sick, to the grieving, etc. My friends, if we call ourselves people of faith, we can't do faith only halfway. Sure, some of the things that our faith requires of us are difficult. Many of the problems that we have in our society are complex and far from easy answers. But we can't say we're going to do this in terms of following our faith and completely do something different with these other aspects. We can't say that we love Jesus while at the same time vilify the poor, the hungry, the homeless, the immigrant, etc. We can't do faith only halfway. Staying on the sidelines may be okay when it comes to Dachshunds, but it's not okay when it comes to our faith.